I made a deck that has Eevee and all of its evolutions, and my goal was to win battles while using each of their attacks to take KOs. So first, let's get the easy one out of the way. You might be surprised, but this was one of the first wins I got while using this deck. Because unfortunately, getting KOs with the evolutions is a bit more complicated. Jolteon, Vaporeon, and Flareon are the only evolutions available so far, and I thought it would be fun to play them all together. Each of them can attack for mostly colorless energy, and they each only need one specific energy on top of that. And getting that one specific energy shouldn't be too hard, right? Well, that brings me to our first and biggest obstacle. The energy zone. Most of the strong decks stick to one type, so they never have to worry about missing an attack. Because having 2 or 3 energy types in a deck makes things a bit trickier. You're no longer guaranteed to see the energy type you want, because the energy zone chooses from the pool at random. I need to play 3 energy types if I want to use every evolution attack. But because there are 3 types to choose from, there's a good chance that the energy zone doesn't give me the energies I need. And that's fine for the colorless cost, but if I don't get the one specific energy requirement, then I just can't attack. But let's say I have perfect energy luck and never miss an attack. The next issue is that their attacks aren't really that amazing. Vaporeon does 60 damage and heals 30, but 60 isn't a lot of damage for an attack that needs 3 energy. Flareon does a good amount of damage with 110, but that also has an expensive energy cost, and you have to discard a fire energy every time you use it. Jolteon is the best out of the 3, since he can do up to 160 while only needing 2 energies to attack, although I'll still need to have some good coin flips. But you know what the best part about playing 3 types is? I get to cover 3 different weaknesses. So in order to get the most value from my attacks, I'll need to choose my evolutions carefully. And I mean really carefully, because this is the next obstacle. I can only play 2 Eevees in my deck. Even though there are 3 different Eevee cards, decks can't have more than 2 cards with the same name. But because I have so few Eevees, evolving is kind of a big commitment. If I evolve one too early and don't find the right energies, it's a bit of a waste of one of my only 2 attackers. So to give myself the best chance of winning, I've been waiting to evolve my Eevees for as long as I can, until I have the right energies and until I draw into the best evolution for the matchup. And that's another challenge, because with no way to search for evolutions, I have to get lucky and draw into the ones I need. Also, remember how I said that Jolteon was the best of the 3? I've only pulled 1 Jolteon. I also only have 1 Flareon. I'm a free-to-play player, so I kinda have to make do with whatever I have. But that means that finding Jolteon and Flareon when I need them is gonna be a little tougher. After hearing all that, you can probably tell that this isn't going to be a very strong deck. But this is what I came up with to try to make the Eevees work. You can see I've included all my Vaporeons, and also all of my Jolteons and Flareons, one of each. Since I have more Vaporeon than the others, I put a Misty in the list to potentially start attacking earlier, if I get lucky. I also have fossils in the deck for some Sabrina protection, because I'm toast if my Eevees get knocked out before they're ready to attack. There's a certain card that I think is probably better instead of the fossils for this deck, but I still haven't pulled it yet, so the fossils will have to do. I'll be honest, when I first thought of this deck, I had a feeling that this would be a bad idea, but when I actually started playing the deck, yeah, it confirmed that it was a bad idea. I kept losing over and over, but at this point I was too committed to give up. Since we only have 2 Eevees per game, I'll need to win at least 2 battles to reach my goal. But with the amount of luck I'll need for this Eevee deck to even work, winning might be almost impossible. Well, almost impossible. We're using the Eevee profile picture for the Eevee deck, and we flip heads means we're gonna go first, which is honestly not that great for us because we want to be able to attach energies more quickly than our opponent. Our opponent is playing a fire deck, which means that Vaporeon's gonna be good for the matchup, but also Jolteon, as we see they're leading with the Moltres EX in the active, and Moltres is weak to lightning. So our draw for the turn is the Pokeball. We can use it to get our last Eevee out of the deck. We do play 2 Pokeballs in this list, but yeah, the second Pokeball kind of becomes useless. We're just using it so that it doesn't get red carded potentially back into our deck. We find the Jolteon off of the professor's research, which is really huge for us because our next energy in the energy zone is lightning. So we can pretty safely evolve our Eevee and attach. They're gonna research, presumably to look for... yeah, they play the Pokeball to find some more basics to bench. We'll see what else they're playing. They have a Charmander on the bench already. They're playing a Growlithe also, so they have Arcanine in the deck. They're just gonna Inferno Dance with Moltres, and hopefully for them, flip heads, but hopefully for us, they flip tails. There's 1 tails, 2 tails, 3 tails. That's pretty big for us because we'll be able to catch up in the energies. They won't be able to rush us down that easily. We can attach the lightning energy and evolve to Jolteon because we have the guaranteed attack with the next turn. There's nothing really else that we can do with our hand. Sabrina and Giovanni are more late game supporters. They evolve the Charmander into Charmeleon, which is a little scary. That means potentially next turn they can get a Charizard off if they get lucky with this Inferno Dance. We'll see what else they do here. Yep, they're just gonna Inferno Dance and maybe get some heads this time, which would be a little scary for us, but we'll see how many they get. There's 1 heads, which is already better than last time. 2 heads is honestly pretty good. They attach them both to the Charmeleon, and if they have the Charizard EX next turn, all they need to do is attach 1 energy to the Charizard and they can start attacking. We have our first attack. We could potentially KO them in 1 turn, except we don't. We needed 3 heads there to do enough damage with weakness, but 2 heads is still pretty good. 100 damage is definitely not bad at all. They have the Arcanine in their hand, so it looks like they're slowly turning the board into all 2 prizers. They do play red card, which it's good that we played the Pokeball before it could go back into our deck, because at that point it was just an empty card. But the red card actually helps us a lot here. Now we have Misty in our hand as well, so we can maybe accelerate more energy that way. They Sabrina us, we're fine sending up the Helix Fossil. But they're just gonna keep Inferno Dancing. They didn't find the Charizard EX. We'll see how many heads they flip here. Oh man, 3 tails. 3 tails twice this game is pretty rough, but it's kind of the luck that we need to be able to have a chance in this game. Let's use Misty here to power up our second attacker. We get lucky on the first one and the second one, which is pretty good. We have a fully powered up Vaporeon now, once we attach the energy from the energy zone to it. But I'd rather get this attack with Jolteon, because even though there's a chance we miss the KO, I kind of want to save my Vaporeon for the type advantage against their other fire guys. We get the KO, we got enough heads on the attack, we get our first 2 points. We'll see who they send up. If they have the Charizard in play, it could be scary. They're sending up the Charmeleon immediately. They're attaching a 4th fire energy, and they're just attacking with a Fire Claws, which is honestly a decent play for them, but they don't realize that we have Giovanni in our hand. So, I mean, without the Giovanni, they'd be able to survive this, but the extra 10 damage means we're going to be able to win the game right here. We'll use Bubble Drain, and no damage needed to be healed because we were never damaged. And that'll be our final point for the game. Now 1 more battle to get our Flareon KO. You'll see in a moment here that we're going up against more of a unique deck this time. It might not be the most exciting match, but I decided to include it because I have some of the craziest Misty luck that I've ever had in this game. We're going first again this time, which is always not ideal. And you'll see here they're playing Lapras with fighting energy. It's kind of crazy, but you'll see in a moment what kind of deck they're trying to play. We get an X speed off of our top deck. Right here, we only can Professor's Research to see what we get. We get a Pokeball and a Helix Fossil, and I think we're fine to play both here. We can start filling out our bench. And I don't think there's anything else that we can do this turn, so we're fine to just pass it over to them. They're playing the fighting energy for this Dome Fossil that they just benched. Looks like they're playing a Kabutops Lapras healing deck. They bench their second Lapras EX, and they just attach a fighting energy to their active, because they can maybe start attacking next turn if they have Misty. It's our turn, and we find a Misty of our own, and because we have Vaporeon in the hand, we can start using it. And you ready for the crazy Misty luck? Just kidding, it's coming later. We just get a Tails there, that's my average Misty luck. I'm gonna start attaching to the second Eevee because we might want the potential to attack with Jolteon, because Jolteon is super effective into Lapras. They still only have fighting energy in their energy zone, and with no Misty, they're not going to be able to attack for a while. We draw our second Misty off the top deck, and here we go. Watch this, guys. It just keeps going, and going, and going. 11 heads is definitely the most heads I've ever gotten off of Misty. I mean, once we had 3 heads, we didn't really need any more, but 11 is kind of funny. We have a fully powered up Vaporeon, and we have 2 energies on our benched Eevee. This is definitely the best case scenario for us. We'll just hit them for 60, and we'll slowly chip away at their HP. They're starting to attach their Kabuto because they have the evolution, and if they have an X speed here, they can start attacking us back. They don't. They're just gonna pass. Next turn it looks like they're going to start applying some pressure. We have the fire energy off of our energy zone, which is amazing for us. Now we have the option of evolving into either Flareon or Jolteon. We can attack with both, just depending on which we get, but Vaporeon is fine to just keep attacking for us and tank a lot of damage. They do have water energy in their energy zone, so they just got really unlucky with their initial energy zone draws. But they're retreating into the Kabutops. They're gonna hit us for 50, and normally it would also heal some damage, but they're already at full health. Since we have all the energies on the Vaporeon already, we can just keep attaching it to the other Eevee, I guess. Now I'm thinking here, I think I want to Sabrina, because the Laprases have such a high retreat cost, they're going to be sitting in the active for a long time. So we're going to be able to get a lot of damage on them. They sent up their fully healed Lapras, which makes sense. But they're gonna need to find a way out. They have their Misty finally. We'll see if they are as lucky as we got. They get a heads at least. Just 1 heads, but I mean 1 heads is not bad because next turn they'll either be able to attack or retreat. They're potioning to heal some damage. They're just gonna pass it over. We draw our second Vaporeon in the deck, which is still not Flareon or Jolteon, but we can still keep swinging with Vaporeon. They finally have their third energy, and they're gonna hit us for 80 here, but they will be knocked out by our Vaporeon this next turn. We finally draw into the Flareon, and our energy for the turn is a fire energy, so we're gonna be able to use Flareon twice. But I do want to save the Flareon attack for the rest. We'll finish the Lapras with a final Bubble Drain. Vaporeon has just been in the active for so long because they haven't been able to find an attack. They're finally sending up their Kabutops, they research, we'll see what else they do. They're attaching to the bench Lapras, and they're gonna hit us, but I think Vaporeon has done enough here. We can finally start attacking with Flareon, and we're gonna be able to attack twice because we have 2 energies, 2 fire energies on the Flareon. So after this first big hit, we'll be able to knock out anything else that they send up. Our fire energy gets discarded. We'll see what they do. They have another Dome Fossil. They could send up another Kabutops potentially, but it's a bit too late for them because we're doing enough damage to KO everything on their board. They're gonna hit us, and if we go fast, we can go get this second Flamethrower to finish the game. But they concede before we can do that. Just unfortunate we don't get to see the animation, but that's our Flareon victory, technically, I guess. I'm glad I was able to get some wins with this deck, but I don't really know if I can recommend playing it unless you're really lucky or you're willing to lose a lot first. But if you guys end up trying an Eevee deck, let me know how it goes. Just maybe be prepared for it to take a long time. Anyways, thank you for watching.